They don't have any Wi-Fi here anymore. Hello, everybody. I'm down here at the hub myself with Mr. Dane. You make an appearance? An appearance by Kavi. All right. We're down here checking out the bikes that Kīlauea Cultural Tours has brought up for sale for their fundraiser. So we still got a few here, some kid sizes. You guys can come by and check them out. If you guys need a bike, come check it out. We're going to give you guys an update today on the volcanic signals. There's not a huge amount of change, but we'll go through it and share with you guys what's going on.
Yep.
So we'll kind of get started and start going through it.
So most of it's going to be a lot of the same right now. Not a lot has changed. Everything's really quiet. Start looking at the GPS. This one's the measure of distance between Kīlauea and Jacuzzi. So Jacuzzi would be slightly down the poly from the POC instrument GPS.
Yeah, it's like across the rift zone by Kīlauea. That's kind of how I think of it.
Yeah, crossing over the rift.
Right.
A good way to look at it. And this one shows a slight coming together over the past few months. And we've had this, drop down, but over this month it's been really on the quiet side with a little bit of that deflation hint in there. But
yeah, it seems to me like it might have been slightly flatter up here, and maybe it's more visibly dropping since like the length of this tick mark right here on the side, right? So maybe more recently, but no.
Very nuanced.
In any case, it's definitely not rising, right? And rising is a signal of magma coming into the rift zone. So.
Or splitting. Yep. On this one, it would be splitting apart.
Exactly. Yeah. Pushing the stations. The magma kind of flows in between stations. So if it comes in there, it should push them farther apart. Right. So like that's what happened here. As the magma was coming in to feed this eruption.
Right.
And then as the magma kind of left the eruption, it was able to move downrift from to Leilani, and then we saw obviously the thing contract, a slow contraction as eruption kind of let out all of that extra pressure, kind of stabilizing. Yeah. And then actually it moved again, contracted some more, like a second phase, right? This one, it might have been like a secondary kind of, I don't know if it's right to call it cooling, but like an adjustment there, right, before it kind of stabilized again.
Right.
And then here at the very end, what I'm saying is much more subtle, but like it kind of looked like it was stable and basically turned slightly down since then. But in any case, it's kind of down or flat, down, flat. It's not going up at any point, which means magma hasn't come into the system since the eruption, right?
Yeah.
That's what the GPS signal shows.
And it's getting more and more nuanced as time progresses, too.
Right.
Like a month ago, we had that drop, but a month before that, we're right in here. That looks a little more similar, but we're still dropping, pretty considerably in that area. And then this would be the end of lava that we would be able to see at the surface erupting would be right in here.
Right.
And before that, this is all eruption, build up eruption, and we're really subtle at this point. Right. Everything's quiet, so going down.
Yeah. So I mean, one thing I mentioned, I mentioned basically magma leaving, right? But the magma leaving and the south flank moving are kind of go hand in hand here.
Yeah.
So the south flank moves to allow the magma to leave, basically. But so like when we see something like this, it's not. This may have actually been a south flank movement, possibly, kind of thing. An adjustment of the ground across the rift zone farther up.
Right, and so, nearby the station, so it resonates more. Yeah.
It's hard to say exactly that's what it is, but it's just a little suspect, having being post lava and then knowing that we have the south flank movements.
Right.
So being a bottom line is magma, is not coming into the rift zone anywhere, convincing to me. We still have signals we can discuss a little further on, but tilting of the ground, on a short term, back and forth and up and down, if it doesn't kind of uphold in the GPS, is it really doing anything except wiggling around kind of thing, right?
Right.
In a kind of a noisy, random direction, rather than
right.
coherent pattern, right?
And we're talking real subtle things, so we can even get things right now where one station GPS will disagree with its tilt.
Right.
And it's which one do you believe? Or do you just believe it at the surface? Do you believe that all the way down? How far is it true?
Right, or or you can believe them, but if you see a signal that's not consistent across all the stations, then you have to say, well, clearly some localized effects are happening.
Right.
And then does it actually mean something systematic like magma moving through the system, or is it something that's kind of what we're trying to get at the end? So inconclusive that if there's any magma moving in to fill the rift zone at this point. Basically, GPS at least we're turning the tilt to get just to preface, restate what I've said before. I kind of say that the tilt of the ground doesn't always mean inflation. I've been saying that again and again. And it could be inflation from magma. It could be the ground tilting from the south flank moving in the surface skin, just kind of settling down into the the spaces created.
Yeah, and I mean settling isn't that outlandish, especially when you consider all the changes that have happened in the past few months, where magma just forced its way through the rift, split open. We had all the cracks start showing up, elevation changes.
Right.
Now, without any pressure, with everything just calming down and sitting, we have seen, even on the GPS, it shows that one part of the north of the rift is shifting one direction in general, where the south part came north back towards the rift, and then when it started going back south again.
Right. We saw, and if you remember our GPS talk a few weeks ago, we saw a similar, very subtle signal even down at the coast, at the Apua Point and Kaina Point stations, right? So it's supposed to show that even stations far away from the rift zone are doing this kind of rebound, where they kind of
And that would also go along with the south flank movement that we've seen, especially at those stations.
Right. So, so there's a question that's popping up. We're still getting smaller earthquakes, and we're definitely still getting the earthquakes. We'll show you guys the earthquakes map here shortly. It's kind of normal still. The south flank is moving. Earthquakes keep happening there. And at the summit and Pahala, we'll kind of go over that here shortly. But sticking with the tilt story just for now, before
GPS,
you jump, sorry, the GPS. Yeah, thanks, Dane. Before we jump down further, we're going to look at. That's when we mentioned the summit plot to everyone here, because the question everyone's been asking is, well, where's the magma? And there's no clear, obvious point. Signal on the surface, but the best thing that we can come up with, that I when I look at this plot right here, showing from August, this is the distance across the summit caldera. The distance across the caldera is actually rising, right? And that's different because when a caldera collapsed, you see here, actually was right, as magma was coming in, I think it was kind of spreading, bulging,
and rising,
right, very slightly. And then as the whole thing collapsed, something on the left, it contracted a bunch, and then since it finished contracting, it's basically resumed a very slight increase, right? So to answer the question, I think the magma is going underneath the summit still. It's just filling it at such a slow rate, or that's not really getting to the rift zone. We're not seeing it at the rift zone plot. I just showed you guys right down here, right? So it's not getting that far. It's still basically stuck at the summit, to the best of my interpretation from this data right here.
It's really hard to say. There's breaks in places, like you expect it to be like a consistent trend all the way down the rift, but then you have holes in it that, like Jonica will be doing one thing, but Jonica's between Highway 130 and Pu'uo'o, and then Pu'uo'o will be doing another, and then the summit's doing its own thing, and then maybe the summit does something and it resonates at Jonica, but Pu'uo'o doesn't.
Right.
And it's strange in that it's pretty inconsistent in our trends. The only trend we have right now is the DI cycles. That 10 days, there's a DI. And it's held for 4 DI cycles now. Other than that, a lot of these trends, it's like, this is what you got in terms of trend. It's
Right. Yeah, so I can zoomed out here for the past 5-year plot on the USGS site, so you can kind of see this rising trend a little better. Kind of see, that's the slight increase, and you can kind of see the background also before this, right? So here's our eruption. You guys can see the back, most of the past 5 years, this kind of slow, gradual increase also, right? So that's the GPS story, to kind of talk about a little bit, what you were just talking about, Dan, as far as like the certain GPS areas moving south, other ones north next door to me. I think of the rift zone as being kind of segments, and each segment kind of moves separately.
Right.
And it might be that you have like a pivot point, and like some areas move more like in one direction to the west, maybe the other areas are moving more than to the east, right? We know that here in Leilani, things are actually not moving.
Yeah.
So that's what I would expect is, a little bit more movement at Pu'o'o than here, a little bit more movement at Makapui than Pu'o'o, a little bit more movement at Hilanapali than Makapui. And kind of that kind of pattern, right? At some point it should die back off again, somewhere south of the summit, and it's hard to see how the Southwest Rift gets involved, but you definitely have localized things happening like that.
Right.
And like that to me kind of brings up the whole, this is what I was just talking about, what I'm calling noise, like the signals, can we believe the signals are real signals?
Yeah.
It's just, what it's telling us is that the ground isn't changing consistently across the entire area. They're all changing from something local to near that instrument and not something propagating through the entire volcano, right? And I think that's the important point.
That makes sense, especially with the south flank moving, and it's not going to do it uniformly all across the entire flank. It's going to pinch here, it's going to spread there, it's not going to affect anything here, it's going to bounce around, and then the next wake will be different.
Right.
And it's just a process, and until that south flank catches and stops sliding so much.
Yeah, or I should say this, because I'm saying the same thing, but I would like to refine it a little bit. It has to slide. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be stuck, because you can't see that before this eruption it was really kind of truly all the way stuck. Because if you look at the GPS right here, we just pointed at it, that we actually did. There was a little bit of movement. Maybe it's not this station, but I'll go back to the other one, right? Where? Oh no.
Oh, tilt.
Here I gotta go back. That there is movement of the south flank, so let me find a good example of that. Yeah, so it's something like this, for example, right? Here's the Mount Panini, which is kind of south flank, right? So this is basically showing movement to the south, right? It's not parked flat and locked, right?
Right.
It's moving. It's maybe just not moving fast enough to accommodate the backup of lava that built up in that area, right? So it can stick all the way, but it also doesn't have to stick all the way. It can just
partially.
It can be moving at a slow enough rate that allows a buildup to happen behind it, if that makes sense, right? The rate's important as well.
The interesting thing about that would be then this rate seems more accelerated than that rate. This rate here.
Right.
Versus that right there.
Yeah. Well, so in this particular plot, I know it's maybe slightly off on this one, right? But most of the examples it actually looks like it becomes steeper, right? So if we go back,
that might not be the good example then.
That's the one that doesn't show it. So whereas might have been the Kalapana trail. I go back up
on the trail.
So like this, right? Kalapana trail, where you can kind of see. Here is clearly a movement south, right? And then it's moving south, but now in this case, at this location, right, locally to here.
Yep, back to the localized.
This area is moving faster, and the one we just showed you guys is not moving faster. And other areas are not moving at all. So that kind of shows how it's kind of localized and segmented into areas, right?
Right. That kind of supports the thing.
Yeah. So I kind of simplified it by saying it was kind of just stuck and parked, right? It doesn't have to be all the way stuck. It has to be stuck enough.
The build back pressure, that head pressure can build.
And then build the head pressure, and that's exactly what we're looking at. So,
yeah.
So clearly if it stopped moving altogether, that happens faster and easier, but it can happen while that thing kind of moves down.
So we'll call it relatively stuck.
Relatively, right. So because we are seeing a signal at the summit that I just pointed out.
Yeah.
Right, so magma is probably building under the summit right now to cause that signal.
It's really the summit, though. It's again one of those signals. If we start looking at other signals, it's flat still.
Right.
So that's where it becomes hard. Is
totally. So
even at the summit, it bounces back and forth, and it's like we can't tell. It's too nuanced.
What I would say is that the summit is also local to the summit.
Yeah.
So whatever's happening is happening just under, and it's not affecting anywhere else.
But I'm saying no. Multiple, Byron's Ledge will disagree with SMC. SMC might disagree with UWD. And it just is weird that even at the summit, just at different points, it's still inconsistent.
Yeah, that's there are other funny things going on, where the summit reservoir meets the East Rift Zone.
Yeah.
We talked about how there's probably not just a shallow connection, or was a shallow connection, which I believe that connection is probably destroyed, but probably a middle depth connection and a deeper connection. Probably all of those things exist. So maybe 2 to 3 possibly.
Right.
If I'm generalizing it, are still possibly in play.
Yeah. talking deep rift and mid rift ideas.
Yeah. I mean, there could be all different pathways for that thing to connect there, and how magma leaves the cement reservoir into the upper east rift, and the fact that upper east rift starts off trending southeast, and then it bends, and like there's just a lot of funky stuff happening there.
Right.
So there have been times in the past where like the escape road station picks up nothing at the summit, and like what's going on, and that was actually evidence for shallow reservoir deformation, because you actually had a point that's telling you that. And so all that's all the data to us is hard to decipher, but it actually they're each at a unique location in that plumbing from the summit crater to the rift zone, and they think they rationalize is the best way to put it, like the data of each of those places based on those particular locations, those specific scenarios, right? So the bottom line is there has been a lot of variation unexplained previously to this also at the summit. Not all the time, but there are other things happening besides just like they should all show.
My point would be right now that one plot is too nuanced for me to call inflation at the summit too. Everything right now, it's hard to say anything's inflating. There's something USGS says the Middle East rift is inflating. We just had you just presented, you think the summit has a signal that shows some kind of inflation. I'm like, they're not clear, any of them. They're all debatable at best type of thing, and only a few supporting signals in their best case.
That's true,
for the argument.
That's absolutely true,
So it's subtle and nuanced.
It's definitely subtle, but of all the data that I'm likely to believe, the GPS difference, especially the difference between two stations,
that one should be.
That's maybe the what I have the most confidence in. I'll put it that way. Mm-hmm. As far as errors of time and space and scale and all that stuff.
Easier to weed out the anomalies that
way.
Right.
Yeah. If you imagine exactly right. There's some degree of noise at one place correlates to noise at the other.
There's a tremendous amount of normalization USGS has to do on the data that they collect, the raw data that comes off of these GPSs. Like, I bet one of the papers I was reading, it said they do 5 different normalization techniques before plotting. Mm-hmm. That's no joke. One of those normalization techniques. They're pretty sophisticated techniques. It's not just like, things like I was doing where it's just like, we'll just take an average of the last 5 events and then call that a data point. No, it's much more
curve fitting and all that.
It's sophisticated and intricate normalization. So they have to do that because of noise. They have to get rid of noise and get it as close to the real signal as possible. But in that, you still get noise coming through.
Definitely, So it's.
So and like on a vertical component, it's harder to weed out that kind of noise.
Right.
And how you can't triangulate with anything, check distances against other stations. All you really got is everything's at basically the same level with maybe 1,000 feet separating them across a decent amount of distance. It's not easy at that point to normalize a vertical component as opposed to
and that's why these horizontal distance offsets, right? Like across the caldera is especially powerful, right? Because we're not even dealing with anything vertical, right? We're dealing with absolute measure of the ground, right? So the ground moves. That's for sure.
We have one, but it's a good one.
Why it moved, we can argue. Okay, maybe the south flank moving could cause some knock-on effect of the caldera, but maybe the south caldera wall is moving along with the south flank, and that's causing that kind of
the whole thing.
And that's the signal instead of the actual magma causing it pushing. In either case, the ground is moving. Maybe we can't call it inflation. They're the same as everywhere else because of that. That movement. So it's really not clear that that's where the magma is, but that's the only candidate of magma that exists
for you,
that we can see, and maybe there is no actual magma signal visible, and that's just false lead also.
And that's the problem when you have, even though it's one good signal, one reliable signal, still only one signal. And
absolutely,
that's an issue.
And thank you for pointing that out, because it's totally right on.
Yeah. All right, so we'll continue with. Do we have any more on the GPS?
I think kind of.
It's pretty nuanced after.
I got into it, So, but that's the bottom line, right? Is at the rift zone, it's still contracting at the summit. It's kind of spreading, and that fits the pattern of, everything's, in my mind, I expect to see changes at the summit, so, and,
Vegas would bet on the summit.
we're still seeing gas at Pu'o'o, it's just kind of like, the wrench in the whole,
75 tons a day at Pu'o,
Yeah.
only 25 at the summit.
that's where most of the gas is coming out, so, it's still not clear exactly how it's going to go down, right? But that's definitely.
Yeah.
Let me show you guys the earthquakes next, because that's
Yeah.
what we'll do. Yeah. So let's see. This is the earthquakes for the last 7 days, actually. So you guys can see
Want to say something on it?
summit pattern, Bahala pattern, south flank ones over here. The same thing as we've seen,
Yep.
So there's not a whole lot to glean from that. You can kind of see, there's also not the Mauna Loa floor.
Yeah,
There's still a few things happen in Mauna Loa, but it's not like consistent, long term, or anything like that. Yeah. So not a whole lot with the earthquakes. So look at the tilt next. The tilt, so we have the Pu'o'o station back online to go along with the summit station. So here's the last week. We actually had a little deflation cycle in the last week, a nice U-shaped one. I believe that this is probably the daytime midday sun bump, the weather bump that happens right around noon every day.
Like that one.
Happens right around noon, like kind of halfway between each little dashed line, like
Yep.
like there's one, there's one.
And there's one too, like
Yep.
just right there.
Exactly, yeah.
And we've seen these before on one of the other tilts,
Right.
the previous DIs.
So I think that you can probably, can ignore that and just kind of assume it to be like I think of it as a smooth curve like this.
That's a
And then
classical DI for a V shape
Yeah, U-shape.
or U shape. Yeah.
U-shape, yeah. And if anything, maybe a flattening at Pu'o'o, but was kind of flat before, is more flat during, and
Really nuanced.
but it's not not easy to tell, right? You look at the scale on here, where like each of these stippled marks is half a microradian, so we're talking about these 0.1 differences. It's really
Tiny.
It's hard to really say like, well, okay, that's really a linkage.
Yeah, and
But there's a hint of it.
yeah,
For sure, yeah.
And just to give people that might have forgotten, like about what was happening with the tilt during the eruption, like with one of those collapse explosions that would happen. Here our scale is 0.5, right? During one of those collapses, we would get 120 microradians of change,
Right.
80 to 120. That's otherworldly compared to this type of scale. This scale is nothing. We wouldn't even be able to see these types of nuances on that other scale. It would go ignored, basically. So yeah, these are subtle, and they really don't mean anything as far as most people are concerned. For academia, sure, it'll mean something, but as far as guy living in Leilani, no, they're pretty academic events.
So here I've put up on the month plot for both of them side by side. So you guys can see this is what we were just talking about, this deflation here, that kind of real subtle possible reflection or riftstone.
Yeah.
Kind of go back, this goes back a month, so you can kind of see our big V-shaped one, right? There was a kind of a smaller U-shaped one before that, and this big V-shaped one, and this looks kind of like a little U-shaped one, then maybe a little V-shaped one.
Yeah, that thing
Bigger.
I don't know about that little guy.
Yeah. I'm not
That
sure.
little guy's weird. USGS, I think, called it a DI, though.
Yeah.
There was, I mean, it's mostly D and a very little I, but
Right, yeah, but yeah, and it happens kind of across the time of day where it's more believable.
And
That's probably part of it.
the thing that makes that one somewhat believable to me, even though I'm not gonna straight up call it a DI at this point, is this little bit of inflation. When I did the update for this inflation, we were like right at this peak, and I was before this inflation event. I'm like, or this DI event. I was saying, whenever we get that inflation, that little bump up, and we're on that 10-day trend where it's been 10 days roughly since the last big one.
Right.
We're setting up for a new one, and sure enough, that's what happened. So when I see that right before it, that convinces me a little more now that was a DI cycle. If it was just flat and then did that, I would have just, I discount it.
So if I can put forth, a model, in the past we used to DI events with gas, so maybe the gas is building up. underground and causing the ground to start kind of swelling. And then it actually has a chance to move up and out and through there. And then once it actually is able to escape, then we see the deflation. And then once that kind of slug of gas has cleared its way through and the pressure effects have gone, then you can see the reinflation kind of behind it. So that's a working model that kind of relates to working models of the past, of deflation, inflation. Yeah. So maybe that's why we're seeing that little.
So really, what we're saying is, if you were at USGS and you have access to SO2 data from the monitoring systems, just drop that.
We would like
somewhere. Just drop it, and we'll look at it, because that's really what it comes down to. Is if those are magmatic gas driven, then we should see SO2 spikes or fluxes. On the edge of the caldera.
Correlating with deflation, inflation.
At the same, roughly the same times. I'm not expecting big signals.
Right.
But something. Just give me something on that.
Yeah, we're talking about this because now some of the emissions are down to 25 tons SO2 a day, right?
Yeah.
Which means a couple of things. It means, first of all, there's not a giant plume, and one of the techniques they're using before was UV interference, looking through the plume at the sun. Mm-hmm. And there's no plume to look through at the sun anymore, so you can't use that as a technique anymore, right? So you have to go for more of the direct the direct sampling measurements that we're looking at in a literature.
Right.
And then it's a matter of you need something that's got a resolution and time, right? You can't measure it just like once a day. It's got to measure it across the entire DI cycle. To say before it the gas was low, and then during it got higher, and afterwards got low again, which is what.
And as we were saying, it does have a little bit of inflation before the DI, and so we need the samples from prior. We need the samples obviously during, but even after would be important too.
Right.
Just everything surrounding that. But right now, I was told by USGS that these signals are online and available. I've only been able to find one that is updating commonly.
Hey! We got a guest appearance. We're running off to.
What's up, guys?
What you got going on, Kikes?
Oh, no. We're just selling some bikes.
I mentioned the bikes, So, still get some bikes?
No, we sold out.
Sold out? Oh, we're on.
So, but we have another bunch tomorrow, so we'll be selling more bikes tomorrow.
Down in Kīlauea, are you going to be selling them?
Well, we're cleaning out one of our base yards for, where our bikes are at. So we just sold maybe 25% of what we have.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to sell another 25%, and the 50% that we have is really top-notch bikes that we're going to keep for bike rentals and bike tours.
There you go.
Yeah.
So other than that, we'll be sending some bikes, and half of the money that we are actually donating back to Pu'unua for Christmas. So we want to do some toys for the tots or something for kids.
Oh, that's awesome.
I saw a bunch of the kids riding those bikes around.
Yeah.
Stoked,
Yeah, I wish I could ride a bike, but a little too big for a bike right now. Especially the ones that they were riding.
Oh, yeah.
Some small ones,
But how's everything going?
Good. So just one more question. If someone wants a bike tomorrow, where do they go?
It's people are showing up at the place that we were pretty much working at, and trying to buy bikes from there. So
you tell them now where you want them to go.
So if you guys want some bikes, please either contact me on Facebook. I always check on my Facebook, or come on down to Kīlauea, or even at the hub. So whatever we have left, we're bringing it at the hub at around at 5 o'clock. So.
Right on, you guys check out his Facebook. Go post an update for sure.
Yeah. How's everybody doing out there? All right. So no volcano activity.
No, not
pretty much. Yeah, it's pretty much flatlining, right?
Yeah. There's not. We're just talking about how there's some deflation, inflation, and I'm thinking maybe it's gas. But it's
there's no drastic changes or anything. No. Big changes.
The drastic changes are all downwards, right? There's a lot less gas coming out than ever before. That's a drastic change.
Yeah.
I mean,
the SO2 at the summit now is lower than they've ever been able to measure before.
What was that? 75?
25.
25 now.
At the
75
summit.
at pool.
Yeah.
At 25, you rarely can smell that, or it's pretty much.
Well, if it was SO2, since there's so much H2S, then you can smell it.
Yeah.
Which is something we've been hearing a lot about and wanted to talk about.
Yeah, a lot of people, message me like, "Oh, it's stinky. I smell fog. I smell SO2," and and they're really far away from basically everything. We're talking
right.
Fern Acres, Mountain View, you know, Pahoa, HPP, and it's like, that can't be SO2. It has to be something else. It's just, SO2 is not going to last that long at that low concentration. H2S will. H2S is much easier to smell, much lower amounts. It travels further, it'll stay lower. It's just set up to make people, you know, and especially in this PTSD where everybody's, you know, on edge still.
Right.
That smell is a triggering smell. It's not a, oh, it's okay smell. You know, it's quiet smell. That's what the smell is associated with, is inactivity. Right. That it's so quiet that magma is just sitting there and groundwater is just interacting with it, and it's not moving, and it just interacts, and then we get a little bit of H2S come out.
Yep.
So it's really a quiet signal, that smell. It means that there's not much there, but it's so similar to SO2 that unless you're sitting down there and going to the vents, you know, you've been down there a bunch, and you'd be able to know them, but, you know, people that never went in there, it's really hard to tell the difference between H2S and SO2. They're going to smell like bog. It's just going to smell like bog.
Right.
So that's the main thing. And Volcano Watch, just their last article was all about the H2S and diving down into the ratios that they're detecting, what's safe according to OSHA for work environment, what's a nuisance level, when can we smell it, and really it's really low levels, and the amounts Kīlauea produces is really low as well. I mean, it barely gets above what we consider nuisance levels, doesn't get anywhere close to the OSHA levels of warning. So it's but the thing is people still have inverse reactions to this, and we knew this down from people that used to live down Lani Puna. They'd always be saying, or not everybody, but you know, a small few would be saying, "Oh, I keep getting these headaches from Geo. They keep giving me these headaches." Well, Geo vented H2S. You know, that was one of the things that they would vent out, and I really believe that certain people are more sensitive to it than others. So they'll get the H2S headache, they'll get the sore throat, they'll get all these symptoms. Whereas somebody else is just like, yeah, what's the deal? What's the big deal? There's no problem. It's at really low levels, so we get to see that it kind of affects people differently. Some people will be out there and be like, I barely even noticed it. I mean, literally, they'll be standing there like, yeah, I barely noticed. I guess I'm used to it now.
Right. So yeah, interesting. Yeah, so that's something you can expect for a while longer. Is it's going to keep stinking for years and get stinky for years.
Yeah.
So.
And then the winds change and it gets stinkier for other people. You know, like they're not used to it. The winds change. They come up north. We smell it all of a sudden. That's going to be true for a long time. You know, if the eruption in Leilani's over, expect it to last. The steam, the H2S.
Well, that's a while.
Decades type thing.
Another thing too, you know, we had that 1956 flow, the eruption. You know, those steam vents near Highway 130 were still
going
active when I was in school, high school, 2002, and it was still going before this eruption. So could imagine this will continue to be going for.
And the one thing about 55 was when it did do the steam migration, because you know it erupted down further down behind PGV and all that. It doesn't steam there for long. I never heard of steam there, but in the reports they're like, it did steam there for a while, but then it started to work gradually back up to Highway 130, and then that was where the only place it would steam. So if anything, I'm like, well, we'll just go off of that because that's all we have. Is it'll do something similar where it steams, and then somewhere it stops steaming further down the rift, and then starts migrating towards 130, a little bit closer to the source, a little bit more heat up there, I would assume.
Somehow that seems to be a spot where the ground is cracked enough the gas can get out somehow, right? Maybe it's just an extra crack or something like that, right? So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, you know, that's a, like as you say, that's a signal of not an eruption happening, you know. It's interesting, like, you know, the smell in the steam vents before, like you could smell a little bit of H2S in the steam vents now, but not, when it wasn't like, it was stronger before. 20 years ago it was stronger, and like 10 years ago it wasn't as strong, but you could still smell a little bit, right? So that smell is going to be there for basically forever, but it won't, maybe it won't be quite as strong, but it's still going to be there, you know.
But I noticed, you know, those steam vents that was steaming before this eruption near Highway 130, I don't see that much steam anymore after
They
this
stopped it.
eruption.
Oh,
After this
interesting,
eruption.
Huh.
Interesting. So the plumbing has changed. Yeah, the network of cracks and steam coming out there.
No more magma there, maybe.
Right.
Got moved out and erupted in Leilani.
Or it could be that, because we have so many parallel cracks, right? If you open one over here, you can, like, let's say this one opens, it closes the one next to it, right?
Yeah.
Like that, so you can, like,
A junction, yeah.
it comes up one spot
Yeah.
slightly one way or the other kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, so that's totally possible. Overall, I just want to, kind of just restate what I've been telling people today, which is basically that I don't think that we see any quieter signal in a volcano than this. I think this is as quiet as it ever gets. Like, it's not never going to die in our lifetimes, right? It's going to always show some signs of something happening, some change.
Right.
So, and how little change is happening now is probably the least you could possibly reasonably expect,
Yeah.
right? So, like, I kind of say, yeah, let's enjoy it and do all our work that we need to do for prep and recovery now, because at some point something is going to happen. I still think it's likely at the summit. You just don't know, though. Hey, Gilbert.
Hey, Gilbert.
How you doing?
But that's all we know at this point, So, yeah, that's quite as it gets, So, like, volcanically, that's basically all the signals we're going to share with you guys. There's only one other thing happening this week, but I wanted to point out, which was the Leilani situation.
Oh, yeah. That thing is a little bit of a chaos situation. I don't know if you've been following the Leilani Gate. And
I heard about that. Yeah, I heard a lot.
The Jan Guard and...
I heard they was gonna keep them for another month.
Yeah, I've heard that too, but I've talked to a few guys, and it's like unofficial at this point. They haven't come out with
I'm not
anything.
too sure yet. Yeah.
And I keep hearing it seems like it's going to happen, the extension of the Jan Guard for at least another month, but it's really up in the air right now. And they have only a few days at this point to figure something out. And there's no signs up in Leilani at this point to, advise people they're on private property or anything like that. Yeah, there's no parking.
No.
All you got is Leilani Avenue, and that's just mud on the side of the roads,
Right.
basically. Like, it's not going to be conducive to having a bunch of people show up to start trying to look at it. It just can't handle. Like, it can handle a few people, but not very many.
You're gonna see an influx of a lot of people going up, trying to walk up to Fisher 8. That's for
Oh,
sure.
yeah. And there's a lot of people that doubt that anybody's going to even try and come in Leilani. I'm like, are you kidding?
Yeah, they were already there.
Are you kidding? we have the Jan Guard there. We still got people hiking up 8 every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Like,
So just in case it's not clear, the residents are coming and telling us, like, people are walking around through their yards, like, they're not sure who belongs there, who doesn't belong there, or, people coming, there are some combination of tourists and people coming to check who's still in their house and what stuff's lying around they can pick up.
yeah.
So, someone just told us they scared someone off, the other night, that stuff's still happening. So if anyone is not around, we lost our lights here. Anyone that's not around, let's see, there we go. Yeah.
All right.
For anyone that's not around, that's what's happening on the ground here. People are still going. There is Jan Guard at the front, but people are still going in there, are still walking all over the place. We've done that at invitation of the landowners to check on their properties and their cracks and that kind of thing. But like that's not true of everybody. So that's what's happening in there now.
I doubt that's true of a lot of people. I mean, most of them, I've never heard of them, never seen anything about it. They didn't gather anything to release to the public. It's just they wanted to go sightseeing.
Great.
Which, it's a thing to go see, but it's got to be done right. It's not just, go out there and just take the straightest path to the thing and go climb it. Whatever happens, whatever the solution is, it's going to have to be considerate of all sides. Landowners, locals that want to go see it, cultural practitioners, tourists. It's got to be accommodating to a bunch of different sides. And right now, none of that's in place. It's far from in place. It's like the opposite of being in place. Right now, it's fighting about anything and everything. So it's just, we need more time, basically, from that barricade to get it all figured out.
So did you mention something about the lawyer talking about how it's likely, or the possibility that a court order will force the extension?
That's what.
Is that basically it?
Yeah, Leilani's lawyer has put forward a lawsuit, or not even a lawsuit. It's more like I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a case to push the county into extending the Jan Guard and relinquishing control, but potentially, there's multiple parts of it, but another part is relinquish control of Leilani Avenue to the Leilani community, to let them to decide what to do with the road. And then at that point, Leilani would have to put it up to a vote between everybody in the LCA all landowners, and it would have to pass by, I think, 60%. At that point, then it would be, confirmed. But what he's trying to do is, push the county's hand to give Leilani that kind of control instead of letting the county and civil defense just dictate how it's going to be. So that's one thing, and he was saying that the judge is supposed to decide on it by the 30th, which is the day that the Vanguard would leave if nothing changes.
Right.
So it's a chaos situation, and there's not much information. I've tried, and everything I look at, it's like it's conflicting with this, it conflicts with that, and somebody says they just talked to a guy at civil defense, and he says something that's completely different than everything, and it's really hard right now. Even like last time when we were talking about is the gate going to get extended, it was a lot clearer cut than this time. Like this time, it's I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, so still to be determined as far as that goes.
Yeah.
We got a question on here about Pohuiki. Do you have any information about Pohuiki access for residents?
Here's the thing. The Pohuiki Road, Highway 137 between Mackenzie State Park and Pohuiki, that road was intentionally pushed forward for residents. So we've been trying to help, trying to see if we can get the residents in,
Right.
And the question is, why was Pohuiki that road was made?
Right.
What was the intention of that road? Is it for the residents or for the beach? Because as of right now, it feels like it was for the beach, not for the residents.
Yeah.
They don't give a crap
Yeah.
about the residents.
Everyone's going to the beach and
They don't give a crap about the residents because they're not going to open a road until those facilities is fully
Really,
operable.
that's the new
Yeah.
word, is that they won't open
They won't
it.
open it until that facility, all the facilities there is pretty much in a working fashion or something like that.
Open it.
That is a slap in the face,
residents.
if you ask me.
Yeah.
Because the residents come first before anything else.
Yeah.
There's 16 residents in there that wants to go back home.
Right.
First of all, they want to go back home. They're paying double rent,
Yeah.
or maybe a mortgage and a rent.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They probably,
And
they probably just want to pay one.
they probably got a hard time from FEMA since their
They got hard time from FEMA, damage assessment.
Yeah.
They probably get 4,200 or whatever. I'm not too sure.
Not the
I know one of
32.
them got like 4,500.
Yeah.
That was long gone. You paid for your mortgage and a place to rent.
Yeah. That's
That was like 2 months.
Gone. Yeah. Gone.
So what was the intention of the road?
Yeah.
Come on, Connie.
Yeah.
Why you made the road?
And the thing
To
that
please the community? Well, please the residents first.
Yeah. Well, there was.
The thing that gets me about it is Leilani's been trying to get this gate authorization to get the gate to be able to vote on it, basically, to let the community decide if they want it or not. They can't get that, but the county was so quick to put a gate up on Pohuiki, so it's like time isn't the issue here. It's not time. It's something else that's keeping. This is an easy decision because that thing went up in no time flat. Like the road's done, gates up. Wow, that was quick. So it can be done, but there's blocks in place that I don't know where they come from at that point for Leilani specifically, And maybe it's that the lawsuit's pissed off the county enough that they're just taking retaliation. I can't rule that out.
Could do that.
Could do that.
And what I was going to say is, we had heard there was an imminent march on Pohuiki when this whole road thing went down. Mm-hmm. Right. So there was also public pressure on the county at that point when something got done. That's the common thread when the county does something. It's public pressure. Right.
Yeah, you pressure the county to do it, they'll do it. Depending on how much pressure you do. But on this one,
But that's all that's got done. It's like nothing got done without pressure. Is what I'm saying.
to me, they used the excuse of the residents to make this road. And at the end of the day, that road wasn't put in for the residents. As you can see it right now, the road is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Why can't residents go home right now?
Yeah.
Live their own lives give them a chance to go home. Not get escorted to your home. Why you can get escorted to your own home, your own property? That's my property. I pay land tax on that.
Yeah. And
I
it's
live
a public road.
Yeah, I live on that that I know where everything is on my property. Why am I getting escorted to my property? That is a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if there was actually like a real and present danger
Yeah, there's none.
to get there, which there isn't, I think, because we know the roads. People are walking on the road, right? Like it's clearly not dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, there's
Yeah.
some explaining.
'Cause for me, you know, the people from the area deserve the respect to go home.
The
Absolutely.
option.
Yeah.
If they want to go home,
They're number one option before anybody else. I mean, there's people in Kona saying, I want Pohiki Road open so I can go to Pohiki.
yeah.
You live in Kona, bro. You don't live there.
Yeah.
So, and I'm thinking because it's 16 residents versus 50,000 people.
They don't want to. They don't just keep it closed and then we'll
And
get
they like
everything
open everything one time.
time. Yeah.
You know, that's how it seems right now.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, the road is perfectly fine. Like I said, it's ready. It's operable. It's ready to be used.
Yeah.
They say no. They're not opening it up until facility. Who cares about the facility? You get
The
these
residents
residents
will get the
home.
facility.
You only get 16 residents. Let them go home.
Yeah, they got houses. They
Oh,
got their
no.
own facilities.
Because maybe they might bring in people to see the beach. Who cares? They live there. That's their house. You can do whatever you want. You want to bring a family?
It's a public
your family?
beach.
Yeah. Bruh, it's just,
Yeah.
it's, you know, this kind of stuff is happening
All the time.
in our community every day.
Yeah.
You know, Leilani.
Sleight of hand.
You're looking at Leilani. You're looking at Highway 132. You're looking at Papaya Farms Road, Noni Farms Road, Halika Mahina, Kapoho. The list
same.
goes on and on. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, look at Halika Mahina. There's twice, 3 times the amount of people that is still. The homes
there's
is
like
intact there.
60 homes at least
There
on
you-
that.
there you
Like
go,
it's,
yeah.
I think I counted like 20 in Pohiki. Like,
Yeah. So,
and then there's still other ones too. Even when those get open, there's still going to be more guys that are like, well, now we're on the smaller kaipukas with 8 homes in it and
Yeah.
5 homes, and it's just everybody's, all those people. Until you're in their shoes, seems like a minor problem, but for them, that's a huge issue. Like,
and you know, the issue comes down to pretty much, the Pohiki Road, which it didn't cost that much to make it.
no,
The county pretty much rented the bulldozer
yeah,
and paid for the operator. They didn't do a process of what you call that bidding process of the job. They rented the dozer for like a week, 2 weeks, which is a flat rate price,
yeah.
and
Pay the operator.
yeah, paid the operator.
Easy.
So-
Yeah, and the,
Which is another bullshit kind of thing. It all
Yeah,
comes
they
down
did
to it all comes down to money too.
yeah. And then we have, like, on Highway 132, there's issues too, because I'm not going to name any names on landowners or anything, but there's certain landowners that hold all the keys and towards establishing even a temporary road.
Right.
They have to sign off on it. The county has to sign off on it, or otherwise it just doesn't happen. Right now, for a temporary access road, not signing off on it. Both of them, the
Right.
county and the big landowner. They're not signing off on a temporary road. They want a more permanent solution. That's a scary bridge, because this emergency state, unless it lasts forever or lasts for a few years, they can't do a road easily anymore. They have to build it to code.
Right.
And that's a lot more money, and that's a lot longer time to do that. If they did it now, as you're saying, you just run a D10 over the thing, and then boom, you're done. Like,
Done.
you throw some cold plane on it, markers, whatever, for the county, and boom, it's in. But the landowners are, the big landowner is scared that the county is just going to say, okay, that's good enough, and then not do 132. So he wants to hold out in order to force the county's hand,
Like a contract.
to do part of 132 at least, and reestablish it. The thing about 132 is that's right down the lava channel. Like, right down the thing.
Yeah.
There's some, pushing to McKinsey and pushing through McKinsey to Pohiki. That's one thing. Pushing through that lava channel, ooh, it's like 850 degrees in spots of that lava channel. It ain't no joke in some of that spots. Like,
Yeah, some really, really hot areas down that channel too.
yeah. So it's a hard question for a lot of people, It sucks because it's not an easy answer and it's not going to be immediate. So yeah, not good news in terms of access.
Well, so that, you guys, is what's going on with our community. So, you know, you guys got anything else you want to talk about?
Also, Wednesday night, totally off the subject, but also there is, you know, local people. There's going to be at Papa, I forget, it's at Kīlauea. It's 6 to 8 meeting about fishing permits and license for local people. Local people, Native Hawaiian people.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, so they're creating this fishing license permitting process. The state will do that. You're going to have to pay, or I'm not too sure.
I just heard about that today.
Yeah, so the meeting is on Wednesday, 6 to 8. And Moku Papa, if I'm not mistaken, I think Moku Papa, yeah.
Or is it, you know,
No, it's Moku Papa. It's on Bayfront.
on Bayfront.
Oh, okay.
The
Okay.
Discovery Center.
Yeah.
Discovery
So
Center.
that's where it's at. Not Kīlauea,
Okay.
Moku Papa. So go ahead and check that one out. Yep.
That's an important one too. I can't believe they're trying that one. Like that's the fishing out here is a big part of the culture. Just to be like,
Bev
oh, yeah.
Amaral, you just asked us, so what do you think, do you recommend the county do?
On,
What you think?
on what?
On the whole issues.
Talk to step one. Talk to the residents and landowners. They should be involved with the decisions that affect their community. Don't think that you can just solo the thing. And as civil defense, don't think you can just solo everything and come up with the right solutions without any outside influence or outside asking for help. And that's what it feels like a lot of it is doing, especially when it comes to like risk assessment that we've been hearing about. None of this is involving the community, and the community has some of the best information and has the biggest stake in the thing. Involve them, talk to them. So when these decisions about Leilani, why the hell isn't there a representative from the mayor's office at the community meetings or the LCA meetings? The Pohiki, why isn't the residents involved in this decision making? It's hard on Highway 132 because literally one landowner owns all the keys to that area. So a lot of it's just going to be working with the people that are here, not just forcing things down their throat.
Yeah.
The next thing too from the county, what I recommend the county to do is make decisions from your heart. You know, your heart will tell you more than what your pocket will tell you.
Right.
Make decisions from how you feel. You know, if you was put in in a situation that these homeowners are in.
Yeah.
You know, these residents, put yourself in their shoes. So feel how they feel, how it is now, and make a decision from there, because it's not the decisions that is being made is not.
It's really detached.
Yeah.
They're detached.
So
You go to meetings in Hilo about out here, and it's just like, what are they talking about? They don't even know.
yeah.
They're like, I've been to meetings where people are patting themselves on the back. I'm like, I don't even know who you are. Where were you? Like, what did you do?
So, I mean, the priority clearly is not for people's livelihoods, right, or their best interests, right?
Yeah.
People are not being treated like family, right? It's not how you treat your
Yeah,
kid.
treat
You know,
these people like your own siblings, like your own brother, sister.
Yeah, like your parents, or your
Yeah,
kids.
you know, like these people go through what they're going through right now. They've been through a lot already.
Yeah.
I get these people back home. Do everything in your power to get these people back home.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, I understand, like, you know, I know it's hard, it's bureaucracy and all that, but like, you know, you guys hold all the keys, right? You guys in the county hold all the keys. There's nothing anyone on the outside could do, right? To like make it easier, to like make it smoother, to figure out which paper to file instead of the one you're doing now. Like, you know, help us figure this out. You know, I mean, like, it can't be all from external and this big divide between, right? People who work in the county are part of our, you know, they're our neighbors and, you know, family also, right? Like, treat everyone like family, right? That's the thing, you know, I mean.
It's hard because, like, I called civil defense today, just the public line, and I got told by the guy basically, oh yeah, I'm the low man on the totem pole, I know nothing. It's like, then why are you answering the phones? Like, what do you have to offer? You just going to record messages? So we could have an answering machine for that. Like there's no involvement, and that's the biggest issue.
No more aloha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
And here's one thing too that's come up, and it's a good point. Why is there no more public meetings about what's happening with the eruption?
We're in a state of emergency.
Why?
They just
Yeah,
extended
the state of emergency, right? Like stuff's clearly happening. Right? People are still concerned about what's happening with their houses. Getting back in. Like, why did the information stop?
Yep.
Where's the next meeting? Like, how come there isn't one scheduled? Like, that is kind of amazing to me. Like why are you guys watching us for all this information and there's no other sort of information out there?
Yep.
Yeah. Last thing I have to say is the state of emergency will continue until USGS says with absolute certainty that the eruption is ended, which it will never happen. So either they change the county changes their emergency proclamations and what their supporting evidence is, or this thing just lasts until time immemorial. Who knows? Like it's
Some other political change is going to happen.
yeah, it's something has to change before that emergency proclamation changes, because I don't know, it's written in a way that's just so bad.
All right, you guys.
All right.
So that's the story from our community, the volcano, and we'll sign off. Stay classy, Puna.
Aloha.